Hello, everyone. My name is Eleanor Thompson, and I'm 52 years old. If you're watching this, you probably saw the title and wondered what on earth could be inside a garage worth 44 million that would make someone faint. Well, let me tell you, it's not just about the money. It's about secrets, betrayal, love, and finding strength when everything falls apart. This is my story, told from the beginning, in my own words. Grab a cup of tea or coffee, because it's a long one. But I promise, by the end, you'll understand why I had to share it. It all started 30 years ago when I met my husband, Richard. I was just 22, fresh out of college, working as a teacher in a small town in Vermont. Richard was 28, already making a name for himself in the antique car restoration business. He had this charming smile, the kind that lit up a room, and eyes that seemed to see right through you. We met at a local fair where he was showing off a restored 1957 Chevy Bel Air. I didn't know much about cars back then, but I knew he was passionate about them. We talked for hours that day, and before I knew it, we were inseparable. We got married a year later in a simple ceremony at his family's old farmhouse. Life was good. Richard's business took off, and we moved to a bigger property on the outskirts of town. A beautiful 10-acre lot with a sprawling house and a massive garage that he built himself. He called it his sanctuary. It was huge, easily big enough for a dozen cars with high ceilings, climate control, and security systems that rivaled a bank vault. But here's the thing. In all our years together, he never let me inside. Not once. He'd say, "Ellie, that's my space for the boys. The cars, you know? You have the house, I have the garage." I'd laugh it off, thinking it was just his quirky way. We had a happy marriage, or so I thought. 2 kids came along. Our son, Michael, and our daughter, Sarah. Michael grew up to be just like his dad, obsessed with engines and speed. Sarah was more like me, artistic and quiet. As the years went by, Richard's business boomed. He wasn't just restoring cars, he was dealing in rare classics, the kind that fetch millions at auctions. We'd travel to shows in Monterey or Scottsdale, rubbing shoulders with collectors and celebrities. But even then, the garage at home remained off-limits. If I ever pressed him about it, he'd change the subject or make a joke. "Trust me, darling, you don't want to see the mess in there." I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? He was a good provider, a loving father, and my best friend. Then, 5 years ago, everything changed. Richard started acting strange. He'd come home late, smelling of oil and something else. Perfume, maybe? No, I told myself, that's ridiculous. But the late nights turned into weekends away, on business. Our intimacy faded. He'd snap at little things, like when I'd ask about his day. Michael noticed it too. He was 25 then, working in the family business. "Mum, Dad's stressed about a big deal," he'd say. Sarah, who was 22 and in college, called me worried. "Is everything okay at home?" I tried to confront Richard one evening after dinner. We were sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. "Rich, what's going on? You're distant. Is there someone else?" He looked at me, his eyes tired, and sighed. "Ellie, it's not what you think. There are things I've kept from you to protect you. The garage. It's more than cars." My heart raced. "What do you mean?" But he shook his head. "Not now. Soon, I promise." That was the last real conversation we had. 2 weeks later, Richard died. It was a heart attack, sudden and merciless. He was in the garage, of all places. Michael found him slumped over the workbench. The paramedics said it was instant. He didn't suffer. But I suffered. The grief hit me like a freight train. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The funeral was a blur. friends, family, condolences. Michael took over the business, Sarah came home to help. And then there was Emily, Michael's wife, my daughter-in-law. She'd married Michael 3 years prior, a sweet girl from the city, always polished and proper. She handled the arrangements with efficiency, but I could see the strain on her, too. After the burial, the lawyer came over for the reading of the will. Richard left everything to me: the house, the business shares, bank accounts. But there was a codicil, a sealed envelope for my eyes only. Inside was a key and a note. "Ellie, forgive me. The garage holds my life's work. Open it when you're ready. Everything inside is yours. Love always, Richard." I stared at that key for days. What could be in there? Cars, sure, but why the secrecy? Michael urged me to open it. "Mum, Dad's collection could be worth a fortune. We need to inventory it for taxes." Emily nodded eagerly. "Yes, Eleanor. It might help with closure." Sarah was more cautious. "Only if you're ready, Mum." Finally, on a rainy afternoon, I decided. We gathered outside the garage, me, Michael, Emily, and Sarah. My hands trembled as I inserted the key. The door creaked open, revealing darkness. I flipped the switch, and lights hummed to life. What I saw took my breath away. Rows upon rows of pristine classic cars, gleaming under the fluorescence. A 1936 Bugatti Type 57SC Atlantic, one of only 4 ever made. A 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO, red and flawless. Lamborghinis, Porsches, even a vintage Ford Model T. But that wasn't all. In the back, glass cases filled with memorabilia, signed racing helmets, original blueprints, rare parts. And then, hidden behind a partition, something else. A safe, massive, and imposing. Emily gasped. "Oh my God, this must be worth millions." Michael whistled. "Dad, you sly fox." But as we ventured deeper, Emily's face paled. She pointed to a workbench covered in photos, letters, and documents. What is that?" I picked up a photo. It was Richard, younger, arm around a woman I didn't recognize. She was beautiful, with dark hair and a warm smile. Behind them, a child, a boy, about 5. My stomach dropped. More photos? The same woman, the boy growing up. Letters addressed to "My dearest Richard," signed, "With eternal love, Clara." Sarah whispered, "Mum, who is she?" I opened a letter. It detailed a life I never knew. Clara was Richard's first love from before we met. They'd had a son together, Jonathan. Richard had supported them secretly all these years. The garage wasn't just for cars. It was his vault of secrets. Bank statements showed transfers, millions over decades. The cars were collateral, bought with business funds, but hidden here to fund this double life. Emily staggered back. "This can't be. Michael, did you know?" Michael shook his head, shocked. But Emily's eyes widened at a particular document, a paternity test. It wasn't for Jonathan. It was for Michael, dated 25 years ago. Results. Richard was not Michael's biological father. The room spun. Emily clutched her stomach. "No. If Michael's not, then our baby—" She was pregnant, we all knew. But now, the implications hit her. She fainted, crumpling to the floor. Sarah caught her just in time. We rushed her to the hospital. She was okay, just shock. But that day shattered us all. Michael confronted me later. "Mum, is it true?" Tears streamed down my face. I had an affair, briefly, when your father was away early in our marriage. I ended it, but you were born 9 months later. Richard knew, but he raised you as his own. He loved you." The garage's contents were appraised at $44 million. The cars alone fetched $30 million at auction. The memorabilia added more. But the real value was the truth it uncovered. Jonathan contacted me, a kind man, 35 now, with a family of his own. We met, shared stories. He didn't want money. He wanted to know his father. Emily and Michael divorced 6 months later. The revelation was too much. Trust broken. Sarah moved away, starting fresh. Me? I sold the property, donated much of the proceeds to charities Richard loved. Now I live simply, in a small cottage by the lake. I'm empowered, no longer the soft-spoken wife in the shadows. I've found my voice, my strength. If there's a lesson here, it's this. Secrets don't stay buried forever. They come out, and when they do, they can destroy or rebuild. For me, it was both. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, know you're not alone. Take care.